me just bring that up.
We do have someone who's watching.
Okay, then hang on.
Right. So we're going to put that on the screen, Brian, I think, the presentation.
Is that ready to go now?
Yeah.
Is that on the screen?
Let's go like that.
Okay, so shall I start?
Yep.
Okay, so welcome to this short presentation. It today deals with Skills England, and what we're looking at is the assessment of priority skills through to 2030. The emphasis today will be on the skills and how colleges and other providers can adjust their offer and make their offer available to meet the growing skills demands that have been identified by Skills England. My name is Brian Horn, and I'll start the presentation now. Skills England launched in 2024, and they produced a paper in September 24 setting out their vision around skills and widening opportunity. And it was the first national assessment of skills through to 2030. What they then promised was a range of sector reports. And in 2025, we received a range of reports covering the priority sectors that Skills England had identified. And these focused on priorities, but also mega trends, and they highlighted implications for provision, primarily within FE and independent training providers. Each sector was set out, and you can see here, this is the construction one, and there were needs assessments that accompanied these reports. So we're going to delve into some of this and have a look at what it means for us. What the reports identified was that 1 in 3 vacancies within the UK had arisen due to skills shortages. Skills England also identified what it thought about the qualifications landscape in terms of its fragmentation. And also they pointed to weak employer investment, and it was identified in terms of the productivity, where a third of the UK growth was linked directly to skills. So clearly having a fragmented landscape and a lack of investment was affecting the economy and needed to be addressed. It's been a long-term problem, but clearly what Skills England have done have articulated it on a sector-by-sector basis. Skills England's role, and bear in mind Skills England replaced iFate, is this national assessment of skills needs. And it is to join up FE, HE and employers and create pathways into jobs, looking at core skills at the heart of employment opportunities, and also to push on with employer investment and use the local skills improvement plans as a mechanism to tie funding and provision together at local level to meet local needs. So what were those local needs and what was identified? Well, some of the key things were there were local disparities and lack of mobility, and the differences between, for instance, the London region and the North East region are stark, and the report highlighted some of these differences. It also highlighted differences within regions themselves. It looked at skills mismatch and identified that there were key areas where supply was certainly not meeting demand, And some of the sectors, growth sectors like construction, where there is significant need for skills, particularly in some of the new green technologies, there was clearly a lack of supply, and also higher technical training. So, for instance, concentrating on construction, areas like retrofit, where highly technical skills requirements exist, there's a limited supply of training meeting that particular industrial need. And on the top of that, to exacerbate it, you've got low levels of investment from private individuals and companies. So there's a range of challenges that needed to be looked at. Also identified were a range of mega trends, that is, large-scale trends within the UK labour market. One of which was the growth in the population in terms of age. So that's going to create an increased demand for health and care training and jobs within that sector as our population ages. I've already mentioned retrofit, but also things like heat pumps, solar energy. These are all areas of the construction industry where there are a range of roles that need to be filled. We're all aware of artificial intelligence, and again, that's driving forward a massive revolution within virtually all areas of work and all sectors, but particularly in the digital sector. There's a demand for increased levels of skills around programming, coding, and a range of other areas like that. So we're faced with an area where adult retraining is probably one of the few ways in which you can make a real impact, as well as having new entry training, pathways, and flexible approaches to learning. So in essence, what we're saying here is in order to meet the future mega trends, we need a range of solutions, and we need to be adaptable and adopt these solutions as we move forward. So, what type of skills are in demand? Well, in terms of the skill sectors that were analysed, the priority sectors that were analysed, then a range of cross-cutting essential skills were identified. And those are skills that, regardless of the sector, regardless of the job, they're required by employers. Let's just whiz through them. One of them is communication, the ability to get ideas across, to work with colleagues, to talk with colleagues. The ability to collaborate, to work in teams, really important nowadays, particularly in terms of remote working, where it's really important that colleagues work together, particularly in the IT sector, where people might be even located in different countries, certainly in different geographical locations within the country. Problem solving, organisation and planning, thinking creatively, and also information literacy. And one of the most important sectors in terms of the strongest predictor of job growth is the creativity skills. And it's seen that increasing creativity is a massive indicator that there's job growth in a particular area. And you can see that. You've only got to go to areas of London, and also perhaps if you go to Old Trafford, if you go to the media quarter around Salford and Greater Manchester, you can see there where creativity is driving investment within that local area. And that's seen as a key to push things forward. So we've got transferable skills that are in demand. So what sort of jobs are in demand if we translate those skills into jobs? Well, clearly, we talked earlier about the aging population, and that situation is going to persist for the next few years. The demography shows us that. So there'll be increased need for care workers, for medics, for nurses. So health and social care, really important area of job growth. Life scientists, in terms of scientists themselves and technicians, clearly going to be required. And again, we're looking at the green economy. I highlighted that earlier. We're talking there about the ability to install heat pumps, a massive way of saving energy and supporting the green economy. Retrofit, if you look at an area like South London, there are significant areas of South London where you're looking at Victorian properties that are incredibly valuable in terms of their location, but they need work to make them economically viable in terms of their green footprint. So, for instance, insulation, replacement of windows, old windows, looking at heating systems, looking at the way the building itself operates. And that's the role of the retrofit specialist. And again, there's far too few technical people within the sector who can go into a building and work in this way. We talked about digital and AI. You've only got to think about the cybersecurity sector. You've got to think about the recent breaches at the Co-op and also Marks and Spencer. And now the latest one is Jaguar Land Rover. So there's an increased need we can see here for cybersecurity specialists, for people working in the quantum sector in terms of digital. Coupled with all of that, and you've got the need for teaching and HE lecturers within the education sector. So looking at those sort of growth sectors that we need about 35% more architectural technicians and CAD specialists. We need an increase of about 13% in terms of HE lecturers. So what Skills England have done, have identified the job roles that need to be fulfilled. So spotlighting on each of the sectors, 75% of all jobs are deemed to be needing digital skills. So by 2030, 3/4 of every role within the UK will need digital skills. Again, I mentioned retrofit, but also things like hydrogen. There'll be tens of thousands of roles as vehicles not only move over to electricity, as we're seeing now, but also hydrogen. And you've only got to go to areas such as Germany and Bavaria, where the hydrogen economy is thriving. And you can see there that it's a green technology and it provides a whole raft of energy uses. And that diagram there shows some of those. So life sciences, STEM skills, science, technical, engineering, manufacturing skills, and also in the construction sector, where we're on target, or I think we're on target for over 1 million new homes. So again, there's a whole raft of job needs in that sector. So what does this all mean for providers? It's not so much a gloomy picture. It's a picture of what's happening over the next few years. And let's have a think through what it means for providers. And by providers, as I say, HE, FE, independent training providers. To begin, it's helpful to look at the curriculum that we're offering and map it against those priority sectors. So are the individuals that are being educated and trained within our institutions, are they meeting those priority sectors? Are they meeting those occupations? Looking at the common skills that have been highlighted by Skills England, are those being embedded across programs? So things like IT literacy, etc. Are they being embedded across programs of learning? And also, one of the things that's pointed to by Skills England is the need for flexibility and adaptability. And I think this is where obviously, hopefully working with OCN London will help, because we have a range of micro-credentials and we can rapidly develop materials with you. And we can also support CPD, continuing professional development, aligned particularly to employer demands. So we can support flexible adult retraining routes. And this is an ideal use of micro-credentials, where individuals can dip into a program of learning and they can receive an accreditation for their skills that they've gained during that learning process. Also, the Growth and Skills Levy is on its way. It's being introduced now, and there'll be a raft of funding priorities attached to that. So there's a whole range of planning in terms of what providers can do now, both in the short term, the medium term, and the longer term. So reaching the conclusion of this short presentation, what are the practical takeaways? Let's go through those. Number one, and these are suggestions, you can do an audit of your current curriculum against the priorities identified by Skills England. Always a helpful task, because Skills England priorities will be articulated through the local skills improvement plan. So if your current curriculum is being mapped against that, you can see real synergy and opportunities there for funding support through the local skills improvement plans for your provision. There are areas such as green, digital, health, life sciences, where we know there's going to be growth. We absolutely know. So in those areas, you can develop with OCN London, or you can deliver some of our off-the-shelf micro-credentials, and we have a range in these areas. But if you want to come to us and talk to us about a specific area, such as health or life sciences, then by all means do so, because we can work with you to develop those short, bite-sized courses. Think about also the progression pathways into HE apprenticeships and jobs. So do you have clear progression pathways from your provision into specific roles, particularly the type of roles that have been identified as areas of immediate need? Partner with employers. Again, the employer voice is vital in all of this, and it feeds directly into Skills England. But clearly, working with employers as an education institution can be extremely valuable, because it can give you an idea that what you're doing is actually meeting their needs, that the individuals that come through your provision that qualify for qualifications or micro-credentials or training programs are actually going to both obtain jobs, and also if in employment, they're going to benefit from those and progress in their job roles. And the last one is to use the local skills improvement plans, and also look at the, we would suggest, look at the OCN London qualification framework, because it gives you an ideal opportunity to look at what is it we're doing, how does it map to my local needs, and are the qualifications on offer that we can look at that would support that. So next steps. Clearly, Skills England has a range of documents that are being produced, and the sector views are constantly being refined. So I would encourage you to look at that. What's also been happening is that Skills England are producing a skills taxonomy, and education pathways are being mapped through to occupations. So again, that's an ideal area to keep an eye on. In terms of OCN London, how can we support? Well, we can work with you to look at your curriculum. We can develop qualifications, and we can match our existing qualifications to your particular needs. We can, as I've said earlier, develop micro-credentials. And we also have a full range of apprenticeship offers at the foundation level, and we're increasing our broader apprenticeship offer across the piece. We have a broad access to HE provision, and through ourselves you can access a range of functional skills, and also we can devise and design bespoke qualifications for you and with you to meet particular needs. So there's a whole range of areas where you can partner with OCN London and take things forward. So that brings the presentation to an end. I hope it's been useful. Just a quick closing message. Obviously, Skills England are looking at evidence. They're looking at alignment of training with jobs, and their primary focus is on employment and increasing workplace skills and providing opportunity. And we think with OCN London, providers can work with us to both shape that provision to meet priority demands. You can position learners to meet particular skills areas and their demands, and hopefully you can contribute to national productivity and also local opportunities. So I hope that presentation's been helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. This presentation will be hosted on our website and whatever other social media avenues we have. If you do have any questions on viewing this content, I'll just come onto the screen. If you do have any questions, please do get in touch with us via the website or our email inquiries@ocnlondon.org.uk. Thank you very much.